Hey, welcome everybody to another evening of Tech Tip Tuesday. My name's Ken Close. I am a Healy World member, just like probably all of you guys. My background's in engineering and a Healy extraordinaire, been around for a minute. And I am joined by my amazing co-host, Jake Barron, Head of Operations for Americas. Hey, Jake.
Hey, Ken. Good evening, everybody.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we have an awesome tech support person guru in the background. Christian's with us tonight. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you so much, Christian, for helping us out tonight.
All right, everybody get in there and say hi, Christian. Thanks for being here. Love you bunches.
Yeah.
So, hey, what we do here at Tech Tip Tuesday is we solve all the mysteries that you guys throw at us about your Healy technology, things around the function, the apps, the operations. I don't know, any kind of questions you can think of. What we can't do is we can't treat, diagnose, prevent, or even talk about any diseases, disorders, or dysfunctions as much as we would like to, but we're not doctors. So we got to keep it compliant. There is amazing tools for that research and those assessments. So, but anything else is pretty much game. And the way this works is you guys put your questions, your concerns, the things you want to learn about in the chat. And then we will bring them live on the call and unpack them simultaneously. Christian, our guru in the background, is going to be adding content, helping solve those mysteries as well. So please bring your goods and let's get this party started. How about that?
Sounds great.
All right, let's see what we have. We had some hellos. Hey, welcome you guys. Thanks for saying hi. I love it. I love it. I love it. Do we have a question yet? Let's see. Good to see you.
Bring us your questions.
I love it. If you don't have a question, we will talk about something because, there's always the Healy.
For those of you that missed our Healy for Beginners and Beyond last week, we had a ton of people on that call. But go ahead, and that recording's on our YouTube channel at HealAdvisor.com. We kind of went through the key areas and points of the new Analyse 2 app, and important things that you need to know regarding that. So feel free to watch that recording and review those individual topics to help you get started with the new app.
Yeah, and imagine that if you have been using the HealAdvisor 2, the HealAdvisor 2, if you've been using it, there's some differences, right? There's some differences from the older, and of course that's for everybody who's got the resonance and above, those editions, and has the ability to do these analytics. This new app and the way it functions is amazing. So you guys are probably really familiar with the Healy 2 app, which is this guy right over here over my shoulder, and some cool stuff that it has in the way that it looks and flows and the speed. I mean, the speed is really what I love about that. So here we go. We got a question here coming up. Let's see. Lily says, some people are still using the old pink dot. So I want to know how long it will be available. And so how long the old blue dot will be available, please. So that's a great question, because let me first of all, before we go kind of dive into that, let me tell you why. Why did we move into these new apps, or why did Healy move into these new apps? Because the functionality and the ability on the new platform, these apps are built on a new programming platform. And what that means is that it has, let me get, there we go. What that means is that the new programming platform just has more capabilities, kind of a wider bandwidth in terms of when it comes to technology, what it can do. And Healy was in development for a very long time. Marcus built the time waiver system and then wanted to make sure that let's make something that is wearable and shareable and personable with every human on the planet. So he started developing Healy, and it took a while. So these things were built on some of the app technology that was of that time. And now we're moving over to newer, greater, and better technology. So that's why this is happening, just so you understand that principle. But how long are things going to be available? You're going to find that the new Healy 2 app, you're going to find the old Healy app is going to be pretty glitchy, right? It's going to be functioning not so great. But Jake, you want to add anything about the?
Yeah, as far as an exact timeline, there really hasn't been one set yet as far as when they'll be taken down or no longer supported. Keep in mind, there's no more updates in general, major updates or resources being put toward those old app platforms. So going forward, there's really no reason at all to continue using the old Healy Pink Dot app. That specific one, the new one's much more stable, much more user-friendly. So if anyone is using the old one, 100% get switched over to that new Healy 2 app. As far as the old Analyze app, the Blue Dot app, of course, I can see why some people might want to continue using it for a little bit because, clients migrated over to the new app, but lists and things like that, you might want to still be able to access those or take a look at them for whatever reason there. So that one, but again, there's no timeline as far as when that will be taken down. Just keep in mind, again, at some point in the future, it would no longer be supported. So anything new that you're doing, put it in the new Analyze 2 app. Don't continue to add clients and get used to using the new one and just have that other one's kind of there as a backup or for now. But yeah, because there's no, once you migrate your clients over to the new Analyze 2 app, there's no synchronization between the old and the new. That's it. So nothing's going to transfer over after that from the old Blue Dot app to the new Analyze 2 app.
And I know, some of us don't want to change. I know how that works, but what helps us is just trying it out. Try it out, give it a lot of grace and patience with yourself, and give that a try because you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. It's just so much better. Okay, so let's see. The next one. Here's a question. So when Bluetooth disconnects, programs stop. So and I'll address that, but also the next question, part of that, just part 2, that how far can we move away from the device? And Christian is answering that. So basically, understand that Healy uses a BLE or Bluetooth low energy. So in other words, it's a Bluetooth signal, but it's very low energy. So there's a very, very negligible, if any, impact on the body from that Bluetooth signal. And that's why Healy uses what's called a Bluetooth low energy. And with that comes a very short distance of transmission. There's not a lot of amplitude to that signal. In other words, like walkie-talkies, if you guys are familiar with walkie-talkies, you can get a certain distance apart and then you stop hearing each other because they don't transmit far enough because they don't have a lot of power. Some of them have a lot of power and can go further. Some who don't have a very long range. So Healy has not a very long range. And this is on purpose. It's on purpose so that the Bluetooth signal doesn't have a lot of power, not a lot of implementation into the body as far as frequency, very little of influence. But to the point of, if your Bluetooth disconnects from the app, or your Healy hardware disconnects from the app, what happens? There's 2 different kind of things going on here. One, when it's the Healy 2 app, the microcurrent app, when you send, or I should say start a program from the app, it sends all of the app's function, or all the programs function, all the programs functions to the Healy hardware. So in other words, you choose one of your favorite programs from something from the learning page, maybe. You transmit all of that, you start the program, it transmits to the Healy via Bluetooth, and then you can get rid of the program or the app. You can get far away, but the program will still run on the Healy. It's not the same scenario when it's the Blue app, because it needs a one-to-one Bluetooth connection in real time. So if you get too far away, your smart device and your Healy hardware, it's going to lose Bluetooth connection, and your program's going to stop. So, so two different scenarios there, and how the Bluetooth actually interacts with the hardware. You want to add anything to that, Jake? I see that. I mean, Christian's put some good stuff in there.
No, I mean, you covered it all, Kim. Bluetooth, you got to be within that range there. And, if there's walls and interference and things like that, the maximum range is going to be less. So,
yeah, that 32 foot, 33 feet, or 10 meters is direct line of sight. That's the way it's measured, is direct line of sight. So if you have, like Jake said, if you have a wall in the way, you have people in the way, you have you're inside the car versus outside the car, or whatever, that's going to shorten that range. It's not going to lengthen it. It'll shorten it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and that's not anything new related to the Analyse 2 app. The same thing. It was the same way in the old Analyse app. Just for anyone that might be wondering, it's not a new feature.
No, the Bluetooth chip within the Healy and the Mag Healy still has pretty much the same range. BLE is important. I think it's important to understand why that's happening. You want to have the lowest amount of energy impact that is outside of what Healy's trying to send. You don't want to interfere with a bunch of other radio signals or frequencies when you're trying to work with a frequency device. And so that's why they chose it. And the Bluetooth chip is very unique, by the way. When an app is connected to Healy, Healy will not connect to anything else, right? So it'll only connect to one app at a time. Healy, once it's connected to the pink app, you try to open the blue app, right, and connect to the Healy, it's not going to do it. So people are always, they're coming to me saying, well, I can't connect. And the problem with that is that they don't know that the pink app is still running in the background on their smart device. They're not actually what we call hard closing the app. And if you don't know what hard closing is, go to YouTube, search for how to hard close an app on my Android, whatever, or my iPhone, whatever. There'll be a very specific way that you hard close an app. And if you don't know how to hard close an app, then I guarantee you have too many running in the background right now. So it's real important that you understand how to hard close an app, especially when you're trying to move from, say, the blue app to the pink app, because like I said, that Healy hardware, that Bluetooth chip is only going to allow one app at a time to have its presence, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Two other questions here. One we kind of already answered. It was from Deb here. Can I continue to use the Healy or the Analyse 2 app together with the original Blue Dot app? So yeah, I mean, for now, while the old Blue Dot app is still available, you can continue to use it. Just as we mentioned before, nothing's going to be synced from the old app to the new app if you're continuing to put new data, clients, that kind of thing into that one. And then as far as the synchronization goes, mentioned that it starts with a synchronization that takes a rather long time. So that can vary depending on quite a bit of factors, your own internet connection, what's going on in the servers and in Healy world as well. But in general, I found mine to be pretty fast loading up on the initial screen. Earlier today, when I started up, it was a little bit slower than normal, but again, there's lots going on related to this new Analyse 2 app right now. So it's still very new, and there'll be different optimizations and updates as we go as well.
Yeah, it still works faster than the old one did. I mean, it's just the way there's some technical things in the background, the frequency of refresh and how it accesses the cloud account. Remember that the Blue app, especially when it's doing those synchronizations, it's dependent upon your Wi-Fi, and then it's accessing the cloud account to download that content. And so there's been a lot of improvements in terms of the accessibility of that cloud account and the way that how quickly it downloads content, because we have a lot of Healy users now. I mean, you know, when there was only 4 or 5 people with a Healy, that was different. But now we've got, you know, thousands and thousands. I don't even know how many now. And so it's just growing. And so it needs the new technology in order to be able to access for more and more people. And it's working very well. Okay, so let's see. Here's is it possible to look at history of programs run on the Pink app? It's actually not. I mean, so if you've got your Pink app and you run program after program after program with it, there is no account that holds some kind of a log. There's not.
Yeah, there's no cloud storage or synchronization with that, like there is with the Analyze app.
No, I mean, you can build lists and things within the HealAdvisor app and you know, run those type of lists of programs from there with the Healy Pink app. But as far as the Healy 2 app itself, it does not track any of that. And there's a second part of this question. It says, for some reason with the new Blue app, Healy disconnects very often. What's that reason? So the Bluetooth is still the Bluetooth. It still operates the same way. Again, like I mentioned, take a look at what's running in the background on your smart device. Take a look, because if you have a lot of apps open, both these Healy apps are fairly resource hungry apps. What I mean by that is that your smartphone is like a computer. It's basically a little computer, right? And it has a screen, which we would call the video, right? It has a touch function on the screen, which is essentially we would call like the keyboard. It has audio that it will play and listen to, so like a microphone and a speaker, which we'll call the audio board. So all of these things are functions that the computer, aka the little smart device, is doing. And what handles all that is the processor, the central processor, and then of course the software that operates all that, which is your operating system. Now, when you have a lot of programs running, aka apps, when we're talking about a smart device, a program is an app. When you have a lot of apps running, it's consuming resources. And that means screen, memory, audio card, the keypad, everything it's consuming resources. So if you run Healy and Healy is kind of hungry for those resources, but you got a lot of stuff running in the background, it's going to start to compromise the operations of everything. So, like I said, know how to hard close an app, hard close everything you don't need right now that you're not using, and then just run your Healy. That way you'll have more resources to operate the Bluetooth signal, right? And to operate the Blue app that you're trying to function with. Does that help?
Yeah, again, also it could be, related to the programming, because when you're not needing that Bluetooth, maybe you're connected, but you're not actually using the connection with the device. It uses more battery and power for that connection just to stay active. So I think a lot of people have noticed that it connects very quickly. It finds the device and connects super quick in the Analyze 2 app. So that process of if it disconnects because you're not actually using the connection back and forth between the Healy device, when you do need to connect, it's so quick that it's not like a hassle or a big interruption.
Yeah, if you're remember these smart devices, they're called a smart device because they have all these smarts. Well, part of their smarts is resource management or battery management. If your device ever gets into a low battery or power management function, it's going to start taking away power from things that are not necessary. Okay. And so look at the charge of your device and the resources available. If it goes into low power mode, then it can cut off Bluetooth. It can cut off, it'll dim your screen. It'll do all the things to try to save the battery on your smart device. Okay. So, you know what I find so often, Jake, maybe you've heard this too, that it's not the Healy. right?
Yeah.
It's actually not the Healy or the app. It's us. Okay. What else we got? We got another one there.
I think where there was a thumbs up about the Healy news section in the new Analyze app is a nice feature to be able to register for some of the webinars. So thank you for that feedback there. Oh, here's a question again about the Analyze 2 app. How does it identify the client created? So there is, and a couple of questions. Is it by recording of the client's resonance? Is it the picture of the client important? Does it play any role with the app apart from visual identity? So Ken, I know you've talked about this a lot as far as the key things that you need to put into the profile of a client in order to have the best results there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And the short answer is yes. I mean, yes. So does it use the picture? Does it use that? So the short answer is yes. But here's the cool thing. We did a great little segment on quantum entanglement. Jake and I did on a Healy for Beginners and Beyond. That is a good segment on understanding what's going on in the background, because quantum entanglement means that two molecular structures that are come in contact are forever influenced by each other. And so Healy uses the information about the client, such as there's kind of 5 main most important things that identify, say, me from you, or or Jake from Christian. It's how do we identify people differently? And if we were to just say gender, male versus female, that separates things, but still, I don't know, it's not quite a 50-50 ratio, but still it separates things in gender. So there's one aspect. The other is the name of the person. So there's probably a lot of Kens out there and a lot of Jakes out there. But then if we put the first and the last name, now we're starting to narrow the margin of error. And this is what we're doing. We're trying to get down to the exact only one human, only one entity, only one client anywhere in the universe. So now we've got gender, we've got first name, last name. So now we're starting to get things separated a bit more. But there still could be a couple people out there, more people with the same first and last name as myself. So then we look at the picture. Now we're really narrowing the field, aren't we? So the picture also has energy to it. When we captured a digital picture with our smartphones today, a little bit different than the old Polaroid or the old 35mm camera, once upon a time. These digital pictures have, 12 megapixel of information, or 6 or 9, whatever. That's 12 million bits of information of what was captured from the camera. That's a lot of information. So each pixel is a component of energy. And so then it paints the picture of you. So now we're narrowing the field a little bit more. So we have the gender, we have the first name, we have the last name, and we have a picture. So by knowing some other components, such as when did this entity come to life? When's the birth date? Where demographically did they come to this life on this planet? Those are another 2 pieces of information that are very necessary for a broader analytics. So astrological impacts, things in terms of chronological orders for a date of birth and then place of birth. And then finally, it takes a vibrational reading of you, of the client. And that is literally like, again, it's like a spectral analyzer kind of reading frequency and then finding your frequency and putting it into a memory location. So all of that information, all those 5 aspects, really narrow the field to being only you. And then when the analytics of the program are starting to bounce the needs of you off of the database you chose, then quantum entanglement comes into play. to find the best alignment frequencies within the database you chose for that only one client, you, or that whoever you're analyzing. And then you, at the speed of light, it takes all of the content within that database. It looks at every frequency within that database. It looks at the frequency of you and what's the dissonance, or in other words, what's the misalignment, and we can now bridge an alignment field with these frequencies to serve you. So so there's a good reason. Now, you don't have to put their email necessarily or their phone number, I mean, I guess if you're looking at creating a client that's a business client, and that's another database in which you can save that content, but maybe you have a office computer that you also have their content in. But the real things that are necessary for doing a good search for that one client and that entanglement with that one client in the entire universe are those 5 things I mentioned. Okay. So picture, name, gender, when they were born, where they were born, and then that vibrational reading. Okay. All right. What else do we got here?
Let's sort of a Bluetooth question here again. It says, I use a special tablet for Healy use only. Okay, a lot of people are in that situation. And it says there's when there's not programs running, for some reason it disconnects if a vibration is over and is not being used for 1 to 2 minutes. The Healy disconnects. So yeah, that's related to what we just talked about. Once it no longer needs that connection to a Healy device, there's no need for that Bluetooth to continue running. So that's not an error or a bug with the app itself. Just once it's over, if it's inactive, it disconnects the Bluetooth, and if you need to connect it again to run a new program, it's a quick process, and you go from there. So
yeah, Healy also has a sleep function. It won't run like forever. It will go into sleep mode and shut down. It's interesting too, though, if you actually manually, at the end of a program, the Healy will shut down and the Bluetooth could stay connected. But if you manually hit the button to shut it off, and then you open the app, it will start the Healy again within a certain period of time, because it's kind of in sleep mode. Try it, play with it. You'll see it's not something that's, obvious, but it does happen. Okay, so there's a question for the link to the quantum entanglement video, a request for that. That's on.
Yeah, let me, I'll just, while we're here, I'll show how to get to if you're looking for things like this. So let me back here, start at the main screen, and I'll share here. Okay, so this is our Healy World Americas page on YouTube, and you can see some of our most recent recording. There's a pet video with Spanish subtitles, which is great. This is the Healy for Beginners and Beyond that we did last week. It's been very popular, over 1,000 views just in the last 5 days. So check that out. But if you want to look for something specific, say that was months ago, you can use the search feature within the YouTube channel itself. This will search just within Healy World Americas. If you go to the search on the top here, that's going to search all of YouTube. But if you do just this one over here, that'll search within here. But let's just say Ken mentioned it was on Healy for Beginners and Beyond. So let's go to playlists. And okay, now we're going to go to Healy for Beginners and Beyond, view full playlist. And it was a couple months ago. So you'll see here, March 2nd, 2023, quantum. So I actually can, this question came up, it's been coming up quite a bit, pretty much every week someone's been asking about this quantum entanglement episode. And I noticed that it wasn't in the title itself. It just said HealAdvisor Analyse Remote. So just 2 minutes ago, I changed the title. So now it says Quantum Entanglement and Remote Resonance Analysis. So it's easier to find if you're just scrolling through the topics, but you just click on this one from March 2nd, 2023. And then you'll see here, if you go to the more section, it kind of indexed all the different topics that were covered on that call. And then you can just click on the timestamp and it'll take you straight to that particular section there. But I will go ahead and I'll put the link just in the chat here. But now you can kind of see where you can go to actually, or how to go find it too.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to you and your team, Jake. Thank you guys for posting those and indexing all those like that. Those are all hyperlinks. Those little timestamps, those blue timestamps are all hyperlinks. You can go right to exactly that content that's described right there. And I mean, you know, you can go ahead and grab a bowl of popcorn and binge watch the whole thing if you want, but
yeah, it's a team effort now. You know, there's a lot of video you see there. Just in the last week there was like 5 or 6 different videos added to there, and it's a team effort. You know, I do some, Caroline from our customer care team had some, and Alexandria from our tech supports team had some. So it's 3 of us that kind of team up to help keep that as up to date as possible.
That's awesome. I remember doing those particular index function a while back. You know, I mean, this is, you know, over a year ago when I was just doing some calls myself and I was putting that stuff together, and it's tedious. I mean,
you have to rewatch the whole thing.
You do. You have to rewatch the whole thing and manually, you know, put those little things in there. So I know what it takes. So, you know, thank you very much. I'm so appreciative. All right. Let's see. Let's see. And so here's a kind of a kudos how Aki says likes how the Healy News is right there in the blue app and allows you to register for webinars through the app. Absolutely. I mean, those are great links. And so that's another thing that people might not understand or might not know that these apps will do. So you can go and click those little buttons at the bottom of the screen down there, you know, one of which is the settings tab, and you can see all kinds of cool stuff that's back there. But anyway, go ahead and search around. You're not going to break it. Click on things. I always tell people, go click happy. And then when you have questions, you know, write them down and then come here. And then, you know, we'll sort them out and explain them better. Okay. But thank you guys very much for these questions. These are great. Where are we? I might be a little behind. Okay, I see we've talked about this one. Here's what, see, I don't know if we talked about this. Please advise, do you need to record the vibration for all clients if using the new HealAdvisor Analyse 2? So here's kind of along the same lines of maybe how often do I redo a scan, right? How often do I do an analysis on a person? So things do change. People do change. So when you record a vibration of a client, let's just say it's you and you're the client and you've recorded that vibration. You've taken a picture, you've recorded the name. Now let's say your name changes, no different than the vibration. So maybe you've changed your name for some reason, whether it's because you got married or you changed some aspect of yourself and you changed your name. So the world is going to see you in a different light. Names, words have frequency. So does a picture. So if you've done some major change to yourself, and I say add a new picture. So same thing when there's a difference, and you know what I'm talking about, folks. When you change and you know that you've changed, you've healed some aspect of yourself, and you feel different in your body. Well, that different feeling in your body also has a different vibration. So record a new vibration, right? Record a new vibration and get a new current signal, because that's going to make a big difference. We want to be as accurate as possible in this GPS, or I call it UPS, this universal positioning signal, right? It's only you in the whole world. But the more accurate it is, the more beneficial to that. Okay. All right. So there's that link to the quantum entanglement video, you guys. By the way, if you're on your PC or your laptop and you want to save this chat, down there where you're typing in your chat, next to the little smiley face, those three little dots, you tap on those three little dots, that's another menu. And that menu pops up and gives you a save chat opportunity at the end of this call. It'll come up on the screen to save the chat. And these links will be there. All of these wonderful comments and questions will be there. And all of Christian's brilliance will be there. So sometimes it's good to have. All right. Let's see. Lindley asked the question, is the timestamp is wonderful and the speed of the replay being there is much appreciated. Thanks. So that's kudos to you guys, ops team, corporate team. All right.
So Ken, there was a question earlier up here. Says a 9-hour duration in the new Analyze 2 app does not indicate the level of frequency that's running. Does anyone know that? So Ken, this is related to, Christian put some information in the chat there, but if you look at the times, so for example, the default here is, some of them say like 1 second, 888Z, 891Z, 4 seconds, 6 seconds, 476Z. The Z at the end there is not related to frequency. That's a measure of time, actually. So even though some do just say seconds, but if there's nothing after that, it means it's just 4 seconds exactly. So this is an even smaller measure of time than seconds there. So
It's
so there's nothing. Yeah. So if there's nothing after hours, minutes, seconds, if there's no Z after that, it doesn't mean that there's a frequency missing or anything like that. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at it. It's a very precise measurement of time, essentially.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It is so Z is a fraction of a second. Anything you see that has a Z after it is not even a whole second. So these are fractions of a second in terms of times of transmission. I want you guys to think about this for a second. I mean, we measure time a lot of times, you know, by the hour. I work 8 hours a day. I sleep 6 hours a night or 8 hours a night. We measure things by the hours. Well, unless you're like in misery, you're measuring it by the seconds. I just want out of here, right? But the point is like we measure things in these time frames that are kind of our concept. But in the quantum field, things are measured at the speed of light. And things are almost seemingly instantaneous to us as a consciousness. It feels instantaneous, a speed of light. You know what? Anybody know what the speed of light is? It's really fast, right? 186,000 miles per second. That's, I don't know if you can even fathom that. I mean, you guys drive down the highway. What's the fastest you've ever gone? Sometimes people are like 120 miles an hour. Well, that's not very fast in terms of speed of light. And this is how Healy and this system measures. It measures at the speed of light, and it implements at the speed of light. So in other words, when you do an analysis on yourself, it's doing an analysis of that entire database, whatever the database you've chosen, at the speed of light, and then giving you results. Okay. Now we have a set of frequencies to now apply to the client. Great. So we can apply those frequencies for a fraction of a second. Again, a fraction of a second, still not even as fast as the speed of light. A fraction of a second, which is what these records are. And you're going to get your field, your quantum field is going to get the entire upgrade, not missing a single frequency. So understand that you're getting the blueprint upgrade in the quantum field, but that blueprint then rains down through this mind and implements that into this biology, right? The material you, to make the alignments. And if our mind is in chaos, it's better to send those frequencies for longer periods of time, so that maybe it'll sneak in those moments in which our mind is not in chaos, as opposed to a fraction of a second when our mind is in chaos. Still effective though. So, I mean, it's really hard. I feel sometimes folks have a hard time understanding the speed in which this happens. Okay. Let's see. So here's a kind of a, correct me if I'm wrong, statement. When the HealAdvisor is being used, when I put in any issue, it provides all related programs to run, not necessarily what will resonate with a specific person, correct? So correct. When you're looking at it's called the HealAdvisor Analyse. Okay. So it's this one that's over here off my shoulder with the wavy lines, this program. So you're putting in
HealAdvisor Search, not Analyze.
I'm sorry, HealAdvisor Search. Yeah, this guy. When you put in a word that is of some difficulty, some issue with you, it's going to give you groupings of programs, right? Groupings, and it's going to sort those groupings in order of priority. So the first grouping will be the most important programs to run. So if you open that group, there'll be several programs in that group. And the first one is going to be the most important, most significant, and kind of in that priority list. But only for the condition, not the person, only for the word you put in there. Okay. So if you want more specifics, that's going to facilitate a person, you can set them up as a client and you do a scan within specific databases, aka all Healy programs, right? Then it's going to give you the exact Healy programs to address that person.
Yeah, it definitely gives you a good place to start. You know, if you have no knowledge or anything, it's a great starting point there. And yeah, it's not utilizing the quantum sensor specifically for that individual. It's not talking to your specific account, your cloud, reading your field. It's just based off the search term of the topic that was entered into that search field.
Exactly.
So, but all the programs that are returned contain frequencies that can support whatever topic that you're searching for there.
Yeah, and remember, it's not just one frequency for one thing. One thing has many frequencies to align the thing, because the thing, whatever the word you put in there, didn't just happen because of one causation. It's typically a grouping of causations, you know, experiences, belief structures, traumas or struggles that caused the thing. Okay. And then there are different organs and systems and cell structures within this body that have fallen victim to that. And so we need to work on all of those. So this is why there's a plethora. There's a lot of different frequencies that are within these programs designed to align whatever the program's purpose is. The program has a purpose, but it has a resource pool of many frequencies that address the many conditions within these bodies. These bodies are 100 trillion cells, multiplying, recreating, I should say, to the tune of 800,000 cells per second. There's a divine intelligence working all that. You're not doing it. I mean, have you ever cut your finger or smashed your finger or injured your body in some fashion? Who's fixing that? Are you? Are you saying, okay, stop bleeding? You know, you're doing, no, there's a divine intelligence the body is already created to survive. Okay. So Jennifer had a question about, you know, what's the point of running something so short? I kind of covered that. And then also, hopefully that makes sense, how this works, how fast. What else we got, Jake? Let's see. Oh, Deb's got a good one here. I like this one. My observation and curious. I love it. Curious is my hack, by the way. When one analyzes a female client, so the profile is updated with the gender and is all correct, for say Harmony 2, and it shows up recommendations to run a program called Prostate. Like, what's that, right? Why is that happening? And on the other side, if you're running an analysis on a male and it comes up with something around, I don't know, around a female alignment. So here's what understand that our body is differentiated by gender. Yes, because that's why it puts that into the analytics. However, all bodies have energy centers, right? Energy centers. So you've got the root chakra. Some people call it chakras, all the way from the root to the crown. The body's kind of divided up into energy centers, as well as it's divided and sectioned out into meridians. So sometimes there are frequencies or within a program designed for a male that's pertinent to a female's condition within a energy center, say the root chakra. Okay, because where's the prostate in the male? Look at the body as in terms of sections, and within each sections are organs and systems and cells, and they all have very specific purposes and designs, but they all work together as one big organism. However, when one is misaligned, one of your energy centers is misaligned, it influences everything else. So go to the root, right? Go to the root of the problem. I mentioned it earlier when we're talking about some condition, something, right? The things that cause the thing, there's going to be several things that we need to address. And some of those are organs within these centers. And some of the frequencies that Healy uses cross gender. They don't really have a gender specific. They have a region specific. Okay. Does that make sense? Are we caught up?
I think we are, actually.
I think we might caught up. That last question was Deb's question. All right. Okay. Jennifer's got one here. It says, wondering also if someone is choosing to identify as non-binary and prefer not to put a gender, I assume that it will work anyway. So let's talk about that for a minute, because I want you guys to understand, we all need to understand that there is a divine blueprint for each of us. When a blueprint is formulated for, everybody has their own beliefs, but I'm going to kind of put it this way. When a blueprint is formulated for a soul's existence to walk in this life right now, so that the amount of time in which this body has energy in it, it's like it has a base blueprint. And yes, there's an assigned gender to it. It can have, not that it can't have a variation, but there is a sway to a gender. So that blueprint needs to kind of be looked at. And I say, okay, if one is living a lifestyle or a life presence as a specific gender signature or non-defined even, then experiment with that. You're the entity that's going to get the effects of these. So experiment with it. Put what you think you want in there. Put nothing, and work the system for a year. I don't care, however long. I like to go at least 30 days, but work it for a period of time and then switch it. Do a little case study on yourself. Switch it to perhaps what the gender was in the original blueprint and see what happens. You are the divine organism that is getting these frequency alignments, and that's where it's working. It's working from the quantum field. That's energy. It's all energy. And sometimes it's hard for folks to grasp that when we're living in this tangible, three-dimensional material body. It still has an energetic expression. And there's no judgment in how you do this. The results speak for themselves. Okay. To be honest, results speak for themselves. And I am a results driven human being. I'm one of those do, evaluate, course correct kind of things. And if what I'm doing and what I'm evaluating, the evaluation is not supporting the outcome I want, then course correct. Right? It's like, stop doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Right? What is that? That's lunacy. Yes. We need to course correct. And I say, do the experiment, because the more you do that experiment, when you are curious, the universe answers your curiosity with wonderment. And you'll be surprised what you get in terms of this opportunity to be bewildered. If we just go into life with judgment and a fixed stance, there's no room for imagination. There's no room for miracles. There's no room for creation to come in and be the maestro in your life. So that's just the way I operate. So awesome. Thanks, Jade. Jade likes what we're talking about. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And I think we're caught up again. So we have a few minutes left. I wanted to show last week, I think last weekend also on both Tech Tip Tuesday and Healy for Beginners and Beyond, I mentioned that there's some new videos in Academy on the Analyze 2 app, but at the time they were all in German. So, unless you were fluent in German, and the closed captioning wasn't working at the time because they had just been added. It was brand new content there. But if you go to Academy right now, so if you go to academy.healy.world, and then after you log in, just go to the product section and then click on HealAdvisor Analyse app, and you'll see here all these videos. The sort of the main screen looks very familiar, so you might not realize that they're brand new videos. But if you click on them, you'll hear that they're now available, the voiceover in English. If you have your settings at the top of the page set to English, which is great. And then also the closed captionings. Closed captions are working as well in many languages, but let's just say you want to watch have closed captioning in Spanish. You'll see here that that's available now as well. So check out these videos. That they go over a lot of the same things that we talked about on Healy for Beginners and Beyond last week, but they're very they're great. They're like shorter videos, but they show you exactly how things look on the screen and kind of walks you through each of the individual modules and settings, demo mode, that kind of thing too. So check them out.
Great stuff. The Academy has evolved leaps and bounds. I'm telling you, I remember the old Academy, and so absolutely. I always advise all of my team to go to what I call Healy School. What's Healy School? Well, it's the Academy. You go in there, and the videos are not huge, and they're not, so this is an hour-long call right here, so way longer than any of the stuff that's in the Academy. I think what's the longest, like 10 minutes or something?
Yeah, I think some of the Healy 2 app videos, there's some that are 10 minutes, but a lot of them are just 3, 4, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So in an hour you could knock out the Healy app section, and then come back and watch the Analyze app section, and then watch the coaching module, and Mag Healy section. So they're all great.
Yeah. And you can get through a lot of that content. If you just said, I'm going to go to Healy School every day for an hour, in a week, you'd be done. Right? Be easy. You'd be a graduate within a week.
Then you can come answer questions for us on Tech Tip Tuesday.
right here. Yeah. All right. Okay. So Dory has a question. Is there a way to know if the program ended or if the battery died? So that's a great question, actually. Because, for instance, I mean, it would be like your perception. If you're running an hour-long program and 10 minutes in, you see your device is off and you go to start it back up you can't start it back up. Well, that's a good indicator. Here's, but a really good, clear indicator that if it was the battery that died, if you went to try to turn it back on, you're going to get that really quick little flash, right? And then die. So that's a good way of telling which is which. For instance, like if a program ends, a lot of time, well, the Bluetooth light's still going to be flashing, even though the program ends, the Bluetooth light, because it's still connected to the app. Bluetooth light will be flashing for a period of time, usually a long period of time. If it was a battery that died, well, the Bluetooth light would not be flashing, and you go to attempt to turn it back on, and you'll just get the rapid flashes and off. It's like 5 flashes, five flash, and then off. That means your battery's dead. Okay. Anything you want to add to that, Jake?
No, I mean, that's great tips.
All right. I try to reverse engineer the idea. Well, how would I possibly know that the battery's dead? Well, that's because that's the only indicator aside from the app. The app's giving you that little bar graph that the battery's condition. But if you were just not paying attention, all of a sudden it was off, you'd wonder why. Well, that's how you figure it out. Try turning it back on.
Yeah.
So Jay says here, I fall asleep with the program running, and sometimes it says that it's still running in the morning. It seems to be when I put it face down. Any thoughts? So the orientation of the Healy, it doesn't matter, but that Bluetooth could run for a long period of time. It stays connected to the app. If there's no interference, the way in which it goes into sleep mode, I haven't quite figured out that whole little scenario. It's where the trigger is within the hardware in the circuitry, what triggers it to go into sleep mode, and then the timer that actually allows it to shut off. I really haven't done enough. I've done a lot of weird research. That one, no. But you're right. That Bluetooth could still be running. All right. So Laura says, thank you all. Great info and energy as well. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy you guys are here to join us. If this was beneficial to you, I'm sure it would be beneficial to someone else. Tell a friend, invite them next time. Whenever there's a question that arises during your operation, write it down and see how we can flush it out here. Here's another question. Let's see. I don't watch, so don't know when it stopped. In other words, I'm assuming you're talking about the Healy. Didn't watch it, so didn't know when it stopped.
Yeah, I guess it mentioned the battery's dead and the Bluetooth's off. So did the battery die before the program actually finished? Say you're running an hour-long program, maybe the battery died 30 minutes in. Hello.
Yeah, and the only way you're going to know that the battery is dead, that was probably what happened, is by trying to turn it back on. That's how you'll know that probably did happen, because you haven't come to the length of time the program should have ran, and it won't turn back on. It's giving you the dead battery indicator, so you can pretty much guarantee it was the battery that died in midstream somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, well, and I'm trying to think of this particular scenario because it's so used to using it. But if the Healy device battery had died, but the program had completed, if you open up that app again, would it show just that program completed screen after you connect again, or would it go back to, so
no, once it disconnects. So for instance, if it disconnects because the battery died, or it disconnects because you turn the app off, it will, when you go to open the app the next time, it will have the last program you ran, but it won't have the next button. So in other words, well, it may have the next button, but it'll start all over again. It won't be starting back where you left off last time. So in other words, when a program is loaded into the Healy memory and you run it, whether it's through its entirety or it dies somewhere along the line, the app itself still stores the last program sent to Healy, and the Healy still stores the last program sent to it. Because when you connect to the same serial number within the app, it's going to know the last thing it did. It's not going to start where it left off if you quit in midstream when the battery dies. It won't do that because the battery died. Okay. Second part of that questionnaire is, do you know if you can use Healy water program with hydrogen water? Yeah, you can. Because the molecule stores the frequency, whatever the molecule is. If it's hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, is holding those frequencies within the molecule. Okay, anything on the lightning round? We got to get going here. Okay,
We're good here.
I think we're good. Well, good job, Jake. Thanks for us. We kept up, kind of, right?
Yeah.
There's been times when we have many questions not answered, and I apologize for that, but come back next week.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Hey, thank you so much for being here. Join us tomorrow for What's Up Wednesday. Take a look at the schedule, the events schedule, and there's so much training going on right now. Oh my God, Jake, right?
HealAmericasEvents.com is our calendar there.
Take a look and join in. There's some great stuff. Thanks for being here, you guys. Much love. We'll see you again next week. Tell a friend. Okay. And don't forget to save the chat if you're ready. All right, guys.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Christian.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks, Jake.